Katrina Shanks.
Speaker, it's my pleasure to take a call on this Act today. I'd like to acknowledge the work that the Minister has put into Section 92A and the solutions that he's found. It's interesting because we're in a society now where digital technology is the norm, where IT growth is the norm, where many houses have computers, where our youth from as young as 3, 4 and 5 can actually go onto the computers and work them, have got access to the internet, actually go on the internet, are on Facebook, have these amazingly interactive games in Facebook, even Farmville, which is a fantastic game. And I've got to say, all my children are Farmville people as well, and there's nothing like virtual farming to bring it to, really get in touch with your constituents. But we're in an era now where the internet is actually the norm. And no, I'm not. But I do have some rural constituents in Ohario. And we're virtual and real. And we're in a society now where it's easy to talk to each other, it's easy to share information. And part of this, unfortunately, is peer-to-peer file sharing. And many people, especially of the younger generation, who think it's normal to share this information, who don't actually realise there's a value on what they're sharing, just share it very freely between each other like it's the norm, like there's actually nothing wrong with it. And in fact, we know that there are over 2 million movie and TV files shared every single year, because it's just considered normal. And it's harmless. But actually, it isn't harmless. In fact, there is a great harm. There is a great harm to those in the creative industries, not just globally, but more importantly in New Zealand, because New Zealand has a very small market in which they can sell their produce, sell the local homegrown produce. And it hits both our music and our screen sector. And we've got an incredibly, amazingly talented sector in our screen sector, and we have incredibly talented producers. Ainsley Gardner, for example, one of our most successful producers in New Zealand, who just produced Toy, who's number 1 at the moment after 4 weeks. And it's only fair that they get recognition for the work that they do, and they get recognition financially for that as well, and it's not taken and shared for free, because it does cost money and people do make a living off these sectors. And it was interesting in New Zealand, a few years ago we had a movie called Simone's Wedding, where it was Simone's Wedding, where it was leaked out, where it was shared, where it was copied, and the producers estimate it cost them $1 million in revenue. For producers in New Zealand, that is a lot of money. So it's important that when we look at these problems, we look at them so we get solutions that are fair for those are producing and those which are actually users as well. So there was an outcry last year when Section 92A from the previous government was to be put in place, and the outcry was over basically the termination of internet accounts without evidence for opportunity to provide a defence. And the outcry wasn't, how can you take my IP address off me? How can you do that without me able to defend myself, without to prove that it was actually me that was downloading and copying and passing on? So the government last year, we took a breath and we stepped back and we did a review of Section 92A. We went out to public consultation and we looked at the key concerns, the concerns proposed to terminate internet accounts. And it's interesting because 2 other countries that have got something in place already in terms of this, and one is France, who does terminate an IP account, internet suspension for a fine on the 3rd offence, and there's Britain, who's going through the process now and consulting with their people and their internet users as to what they think is fair, and also the other side, those producers, and what they think is fair as well. So we've gone out, we've consulted with the public, and now we've got this bill before the House. And the big part of this is the 3 notice regime, where it's intended to defer illegal file sharing. And it's doing that by saying it's giving those internet users the opportunity to make that mistake once and twice and 3 times, and then at that stage we'll take some action about it. And we're actually going to have a reasonable time period before the enforcement takes place. and the timeframes will be prescribed so account holders have an opportunity to address illegal file sharing activity. This bill is a great deal of work has gone into finding a fair, effective and credible process for enforcement of copyright against illegal peer-to-peer file sharing. Mr. Speaker, I support this bill to the House.
Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to rise and speak on this bill, and I'll join in the love fest when it comes to Simon Power and his role in